What's up, guys? It's Bolt, and I'm back with another Remnant 2 build guide. And in this video, we're going to go over the classic, the OG Bandit Sporebloom. And if any of you guys watching this are new to Remnant and never played the first game, let me do a quick history lesson. So back in Remnant 1, your abilities slash skills were tied to your armor sets you were wearing. There was no archetype system. So back in Remnant 1, there was an armor set called the Bandit armor. And this essentially did what the Bandit Mutator does in Remnant 2. It had a 35% chance to refund ammo back into your magazine. So Bandit armor set was more of a meme. It was just a lot of fun to use. It was not meta whatsoever, but it was a hell of a lot of fun to use. And one of the most common builds with Bandit back in Remnant 1 was the Bandit Sporebloom. And it was fun to pair it with a ring called the Devouring Loop and use it against enemies that had multiple hitboxes on their bodies to give it a higher chance to proc. And that seems to be the case in Remnant 2, except in Remnant 2, now you have archetypes, and archetypes boost damage. So not only are we getting the bandit refunds, but we're also getting boosted damage. So this interaction is absurdly strong in this game, and it's behaving very similarly to how it behaved in Remnant 1, going back to the multiple hitboxes on an enemy. It seems that the spread on the Sporebloom, if it strikes multiple parts of the body, which is considered multiple hitboxes, for example, I'll use Ravager. Ravager has the big red lump on his back, which is his weak spot, and then his body, which is not a weak spot. Those seem to be two different hitboxes. So if I put my reticle over and shoot, I'm getting multiple chances to proc depending on which areas that I'm hitting. So Bandit is procking very frequently. I'm not sure if it's intended or not, but that's what it's doing. It's a lot of fun. The damage is absolutely insane. I don't know if this is gonna get nerfed or not. It might deserve a nerf when you guys try it. I don't know. It's absolutely ridiculous, but it is a lot of fun. And I'm a gamer, and I'm all about having a good time, and then sharing these cool builds with you guys. But without further ado, I'll break down the world slash dungeon clearing variant of the build for you, and then the boss variant. Okay, so starting things off with the world slash dungeon clearing variant of the build, we have our hunter slotted in first. This is because we want the Dead to Rights Prime perk. We're pairing that with the Hunter's Mark skill because this is a great skill to have for dungeon and world clearing. Get nice wall hacks, see where all the enemies are, and a nice 15% crit chance. And if you're accurate, you could probably keep this up for the majority of the duration of the dungeon itself. So really nice skill to have for mobbing. For our second archetype, we have the Challenger. You could also slot Gunslinger into this spot as well, guys, and it might be a little bit more beneficial for the mobbing version of the build, just because we won't have any range limitations if we're fighting enemies from a distance. But you can't go wrong with either, to be honest. For the skill, we're going with Juggernaut because we don't need Rampage for mobbing. Trash dies pretty damn quick. We don't need to stack so much damage, so we got a little bit more damage reduction and movement speed, just a little bit overall better defensive capabilities here, just in case we get surrounded. Really nice skill to have. Onto the trinkets, we have the Rangefinder Amulet. Now, I don't see anybody talking about this amulet, this necklace. It's really strong for mobbing, and it pairs very well with shotguns. It gives us damage and range on kills, and it's pretty easy to stack the stacks to get a max of 30% because we don't even have to kill an enemy. We just need to hit weak spots to keep refreshing it. So it's really nice. Give it a try, guys. I think you guys will really enjoy it. Next, we have Anastasia's Inspiration. Now, I don't know why this thing is always active, giving me haste, but it does. I don't have any regrowth or any type of health regen going on here, but it is giving me the haste, so we'll take it. And haste is very nice to have. It's a 7% increase to every speed bonus in the game, so that's reload speed, fire rate, movement speed, all that good stuff. Really helps us out because it gives us more reload speed for the Sporebloom, which is what we need to make it more efficient. After that, this is our only quote-unquote direct damage
ring for the mobbing build, and that is Braided Thorns. This is really strong for mobbing, as every time you kill an enemy, you get a 15% critical chance. Critical chance is probably the best way to increase your damage in Remnant, so going with that. Next up is another ring that you hardly see anyone talk about, and that is the Fate Hunter ring. Really nice for shotguns. Typically, you'll see somebody go with the targeting jewel or something like that, which is probably the best ring for shotguns. But remember, guys, I said about that spread reduction. You kind of don't want it for this build. You want a slightly wider spread so we could get those bandit procs more frequently. So we just want the range in this case. So we went with the Fate Hunter ring, really nice. Give us more range on the Sporebloom, so when we shoot mobs from a distance. Last but not least is the Outcast ring. This ring is crazy strong, beautiful for single shot weapons, gives us a 25% reload bonus when it's maxed out, and the Sporebloom reload is really slow. So this is probably the key ring for this build, because we want to keep reload as fast as possible to get our shots off, to get our bandit procs off as fast as possible. So really nice ring to have. Armor set is up to you guys. I always try to go with a mix of fashion and some decent defense. Right here we have 50%. Fits the theme. I like shotguns with this gunslinger armor, so I think it fits the theme a little bit. And we have 50%, like I said, damage reduction, which is nice to have. I survive 2-3 hits sometimes just off this without speccing into any damage gear. Really nice. Relic, we have the enlarged heart. Probably one of my favorite relics in the game. This is just for the speed use, guys. We don't use relics so much on this build. So this is just to do a quick refresh of our prime perk for Hunter, or if I need to get a quick heal off during the heat of battle. Really nice to have. Mythic range, critical chance, mythic range, critical damage, and weak spot damage. Pretty standard damage stuff on here, but the mythic weak spot could probably be slotted out for something else if you do so wish. Maybe if you want more defense or stamina or any other quality of life. So the last one could definitely be changed up, but the first two I recommend keeping. Star of the show, the Sporebloom, and Bandit. This does not even need an interaction. You're gonna see what it does in the gameplay clips here. But Sporebloom, S tier weapon, even without Bandit. You guys seen it on my Invader video, and probably some more builds that I'll be doing. And my SWAT build, my Provisioner shotgun SWAT build, I use Sporebloom as well. S tier, one of the strongest weapons in the game. No further information needed. Spectral Blade, probably my favorite melee weapon in the game next to Krulax. This is just so nice to have. Quality of life with the Whirlwind. I can do wall hacks and attack enemies through the wall. The AoE is pretty massive. Reinvigorate on it to save us on that stamina and give us a nice crit chance, crit damage buff. This is for the secondary. This is up to you guys. I really enjoy the Magnum. It has the extender mod on it, which gives us more shots. I love extender. A lot of fun to use. Very, very helpful during mobs. And for the mod here, I always pick something that's quality of life. Energy Wall, Tremor, Song of Ephir, Scrap Shot, things like that. I always go with something that's going to be a utility for me. So if I'm mobbing and I'm surrounded by enemies, that I could put on. So like I said, Tremor is good. Song of Ephir, Scrap Shot. That's what I can name off the top of my head. But those are ones that you're going to want. I had Energy Wall here because I was testing some stuff on. So disregard that, but Energy Wall is also a good defensive mechanism tool that you could use if you're fighting a lot of enemies with projectiles, such as the enemies in Naru that shoot all those laser beams and stuff at you. Really good to have. But this is up to you guys. If you want to use Enigma, use Enigma. I like also using Meridian. Meridian is great to bypass armor, so enemies in the Labyrinth that are all armored, it just completely disregards armor. And also in Losum, the spear guards that are all armored, Meridian is just disregards that. So that's also a nice option to have. But again, I will leave this up to you guys. Let's go on to the trait allocation. Okay, so for the trait allocation, we're starting off by speccing into the ammo reserves. Your bandit procs are going to chew through ammo like crazy, so definitely recommend speccing into ammo reserves. Fortify for that defense, that gives us that 50% defensive buff. I can sustain a lot of hits, surprisingly, with just the 50%, so recommend it. Long shot and strong back are the archetype traits that are maxed. We have 8 points into swiftness to be a little bit more elusive. Really nice, probably one of the best traits in the game. Vigor we have maxed. Endurance, we didn't spec into endurance, guys. I've been getting better and better with managing my endurance. So once you familiarize yourself with the game, the enemies, the bosses, you won't need endurance, surprisingly. Spirit, this is not a mod build. We're not spamming mods. We don't with the damage we're doing, we don't even need mods, to be honest with you. So we didn't even spec here. And the Sporebloom mod charges up very fast, so if you need some kind of utility with the Sporebloom mod, which slows enemies down, that'll be charged up very fast. And also, you make use of your slow grenades. A lot of people do not use grenades in this game, and they're very strong. Some of them OP. So make use of your slow grenades. They're very good. They're probably better than some of the mods. Expertise we have max, so we can get our skills back quicker. Footwork and handling, this is for shotgun builds. Pretty much mandatory for shotgun builds, so we get more mobility when moving around. Really nice to have. And that sums it up, guys. On to the boss variant. Okay, so for the boss variant of the build, first change, we now have Hunter's Shroud slotted. This is because we want a little bit of elusiveness and defense. But not only that, it pairs well with the Sporebloom because in between shots, we will be shrouded. And when we exit Shroud, we get a huge damage boost. Very nice to have. Next up, we have Rampage. This is where big damage is going to be coming from. But it's a bit difficult to use. You'll see the stacks build up at the bottom of your health bar, guys. You got to keep track of your stacks and know when you're going to proc Rampage because you could get yourself killed or you might lose your buff and then that's that. It runs out very fast if you're not on top of it. So really keep track of your stacks. And then for the gear, pretty standard meta damage stuff for bosses. We have Abrasive Whetstone. We will be applying bleed with pipe bombs. But another change is for boss fights, I do recommend having Twisting Wounds on your secondary because it might not be always practical to throw a pipe bomb mid-fight and you want to keep your bleed up, swap to your secondary to apply it with the Twisting Wounds and keep the battle going. Kari Warband, one of the best in the game. If you're not perfect dodging, you could swap this out for something, but you guys are always perfect dodging in a fight. There's probably one or two fights in the whole game that I can't think off the top of my head that you're not going to be constantly perfect dodging. So this is always a must for boss variants. Probability cord, because we're stacking crit, our damage is going to be crazy. And then your standard weak spot stuff. Xania's Malice, super strong. But if you're not fighting a boss with a weak spot, for example, some boss like Quayla, swap this out for Burden of the Gambler. And then last but not least, probably the most important on here, we need that reload speed, and we have the Outcast ring. I already explained why in the World Dungeon Clearing variant, so no further info is needed.
Well, that about sums it up. If you guys enjoyed the video, found it helpful, found it informative, please consider giving it a thumbs up. Comment, let me hear your thoughts. I'd love to hear you guys' thoughts and interact with everyone. And if you haven't subscribed, please consider giving me a subscription. And if you guys are curious to see how Bandit behaved in Remnant 1, how it held up compared to Remnant 2, I will leave a link in the description on a classic Bandit Sporebloom build that I did back in Remnant 1. Hope you guys enjoyed it, and I'll catch everyone on the next one.